Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right everybody, thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show I read a lot of comic books and I let you know what I thought about them, but first things first, this is the final week to vote for the CBC Awards. That's right, go to cbcawards.org. You have till Saturday to get your votes in. PCP is nominated for a few categories, but I would encourage you to vote for whoever you want. Or don't vote at all. It's fine. It's your decision. But if you are voting, please do consider voting for One Collection Down, Fable, for Community Builder, Two Gun Pedro for the Blue Wrench Award for Channel Supporter, 9-panel grid for Best New Channel, and let's throw something out there for our buddies at Go Figure Reviews for Best Statue or Toy Review. If you feel like it, go to cbcawards.org, get your votes in now. Saturday is the last day to do it. All right, on to the pick of the week, because we always start with the pick of the week, and this week's pick of the week, Wonder Woman number 14. This was an astounding, an amazing, and a powerful issue of Wonder Woman. So Tom King's been on Wonder Woman for a while, and he's been building up this run, right? And part of the run is the mystery of this character Trinity, who they claim is Wonder Woman's daughter, right? This issue tells you exactly how that comes about. But that's not really what the whole point of this issue is. I can't tell you what the whole point of this issue is, because I don't want to spoil it. But this is a resoundingly powerful and impactful issue of Wonder Woman. When Tom King first came on this run, which has been interrupted with Absolute Power tie-ins and a little like fill-in issue here and there, but overall this main story has really grown on me. At first I wasn't really digging it, wasn't really liking it for like the first couple of issues. Then it starts warming up on me and I'm liking the structure and how Tom King's playing with things like that. And Daniel Samperi's artwork is absolutely astonishing. I'm afraid to even show you pages from this book because I don't want to spoil what happens in this book, especially if you've been reading it. Holy frickin' cow. It's all come to this point. Yeah, the revelation of what is the mysterious origin of Trinity. But this book is so much more than that. It's an exploration of a part of Wonder Woman's legacy. And the way it's handled is beautifully tragic and resonant. I loved this book. I loved it. I loved it. I read this book and I was like, that's going to be the pick of the week. And I was trying to find something else. Was I? I wasn't trying to find something else, but I was open for something else. This is the pick of the week. It's Wonder Woman, number 14, Tom King, Daniel Samperi. That book just hits. Then we got Batman and Robin, Year 1, Issue number 1. This was a fantastic issue too. A new miniseries launching from DC Comics, written by Mark Waid, with artwork by Chris Samney. Now, the artwork is absolutely amazing. It's beautiful. It is so moody with its colors. It is perfect with its usage of spotted blacks. It is big and bold when it needs to be, and it's grounded and human when it needs to be. And just like the title suggests, this is about Batman and Robin's first year together as a public duo out there solving crime. A really great setup, amazing artwork, a really solid story, and a great pace and flow all the way throughout. I was very, very excited for that one. Then we got Batman Full Moon issue number 1, a new DC Black Label book written by Rodney Barnes with artwork by Stefan Subic, maybe. This is Batman versus werewolves, right? This is out of continuity. It's a DC Black Label, so it's able to be a little bit more gritty, a little bit more gnarly, a little bit more rough, but not too much it's not too much against most people's sensibilities, but it's a pretty solid story. It definitely has a horror infusion into the story. That was a weird way to say it. It's a horror story about werewolves in Gotham City, and it's an interesting story. It's cool. It's kind of playing with a lot of the werewolf tropes. Batman is written a bit off to me here, but this is a different world's Batman, so whatever, that's fine. But I did like it. I liked the moody and atmospheric art, and I really liked some of the brutality, not just in the images, but in the actual actions and the narrative itself. So I thought it was pretty solid. I thought it was good Halloween Batman book. Then we've got Nightwing here with issue number 118. This is the final issue of Fallen Grayson, which is the final issue from the run of Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo. This is a little bit delayed, but it's well worth the wait. It's an interesting, solid ending. It is pretty much the ending that you almost anticipate. There is one thing that happens in this issue where I'm like, no way they just did that. Then they write it off very quickly, and I'm like, I don't understand how that happened. We can talk about that later on when it's not a spoilery type thing, but this is the final confrontation between Dick Grayson and the villain Heartless for the soul of Bloodhaven. I liked it, I thought it was good, and this will go down as one of the best runs of Nightwing, period. And now we're excited for Dan Waters to come on. Then we got Green Lantern issue number 16. Jeremy Adams, Hermonico, they've been killing it in the pages of Green Lantern. This follows up the events from last week's Civil Core War, or whatever that one was. And I really liked it. I thought it was solid. The art was astounding. There's some big things happening. Even though this is DC All In, this is not really a good jumping on point, because this story's been brewing and cooking for a while, and it reaches a fever pitch here with really exciting, explosive superhero artwork and really just awesome story that has brought all these threads together from the Green Lantern War Journal book and from Green Lantern itself and all the backup stories. It's all been building up and it's all unleashed in a masterfully epic way here in the pages of Green Lantern issue number 16. Then we've got Action Comics 1071. Action Comics is now weekly. No, it doesn't need to be, but it is. We just got to bear with it. But Mark Waid is doing the main story here with Clayton Henry on the artwork, I believe. And yes, and somebody else too, Shelfer. But there's something going on with the Phantom Zone. The beings in the Phantom Zone are starting to become corporeal, and Superman's in there trying to figure it out. So you get a little bit of the history of the Phantom Zone and who's in there. You get these giant spiders. That's a nice nod, I think, to the Kevin Smith, Tim Burton, Nick Cage Superman movie that never happened. You got Superman of China and Superboy having a nice little super baseball fight. And then you got a backup story with Supergirl. Now, the main story was pretty solid, and it's got a really interesting ending that I want to see how they explore that next week. We won't have to wait long because it's a weekly book now. Doesn't need to be weekly. Action Comics would be stronger if it was just once a month and just really good. We don't need it to be weekly, because I don't know if you're going to be able to keep that pace and that momentum up. Then we got Titans here with issue number 16. I dropped out of the Tom Taylor Titans, but he's done with it now. They brought in John Layman, so I wanted to check this out, and it was a pretty solid issue. It's got good artwork. It's about the new existence of the team ever since the DC All-In one-shot in the expansion of the Justice League roster. The Titans are now part of the Justice League. They're up there in the new satellite watchtower, but they still exist on their own. They have a few people leave the team or step back from the team here, and they appoint a new leader, and it sets up a really interesting story. So right now, I'm not saying I'm all in on Titans, but Layman and company, they definitely got me intrigued to see what's going to happen there. Then we got Batman Superman World's Finest, issue number 32. Mark Waid, and not Dan Mora. That's the problem. That's the problem. This story is about Eclipso kind of taking over Superman and Batman, and how messed up that would be, and how epic in scope and scale that would be, and like danger. So the stakes get raised and all that kind of stuff. And I guess the story is there. And the art's fine, but it's not Dan Mora. And Dan Mora was really what was making this book sing and soar and making it feel classic, along with the writing of Mark Waid. So without Dan Mora, it's slipping for me a little bit. Maybe it could just be this Eclipso story, but I don't know. We shall see. But right now, this book is starting to lean more and more to on the fence with the absence of Dan Mora. Then we got Jenny Sparks here with issue number 3. Already 3 issues in on Jenny Sparks. How do I feel about this book? I don't know. I don't think this book should exist. I mean, at the same time, it's cool to get another Jenny Sparks book, but I don't know. I don't want to see Jenny Sparks with the Justice League. Like, I don't know. There's just something about me that just feels wrong. Like, the Authority should be their own thing, not really tied in with the DC universe, but we know that they're using the Authority in James Gunn's DCU for the films. So I guess it makes sense, but I don't know. I don't know. Structurally, it's interesting. It's got some cool stuff, but 3 issues in, we're already stretching this out just a little bit and maybe making the Justice League look too much like buffoons to set up Ginny as being better than them. But you don't have to do that, because Ginny Sparks, just write Ginny's just being Ginny. You don't need the Justice League. You can have the Captain Atom bit. Captain Atom's gone crazy. He's got all these people hostage at a bar. Ginny Sparks wants to stop him. The Justice League try. That's this issue. She's just trying to get a light for a cigarette. I don't know. I don't really like it, but I don't really hate it. Just kind of middle of the road for him. Then we got Dark Knights of Steel All Winter, issue number 4. Another great issue. Seriously, really cool stuff. I was very hesitant when we found out there was going to be a sequel of sorts to Dark Knights of Steel, not written by Tom Taylor. Now, there is a backup story in here that's Aquaman-centric that is written by Tom Taylor with Ricardo Ricardo Federici on the artwork, and that's solid and that's cool. But this main story is not written by Tom Taylor. It's J. Christoph and Terso. I was worried about this when we first heard about it, but I've loved every single freaking issue. It is very much influenced by Game of Thrones. Now, I know that it could be argued that Dark Knights of Steel is inherently, like, inspired by Game of Thrones and things that inspired Game of Thrones, but, man, the whole idea of, like, the All-Winter coming in and taking over the North, and, I mean, it's pretty Game of Thrones. That being said, the art's great, the story's cool. This version of Deathstroke, aka Slade Wilson in the Middle Ages, I love this iteration of the character. This is a great book. It continues to be a great DC Elseworlds. Let's jump over to Marvel. We got Moon Knight Fist of Khonshu, issue number 1. This is the debut of the new Moon Knight book, continuing the story from the previous Moon Knight book, which continued the story from the previous Moon Knight book of before that. It's written by Jed MacKay still, and the artwork is Alessandro Capuccio, and y'all, it is glorious. The colors are amazing. Who is the colorist on the book? The colorist is Raquel Rosenberg. Freaking amazing, dynamic, super cool, great Mr. Knight stuff, setting up a new threat for Moon Knight. It's a whole new chapter, so even if you haven't read all the stuff that came before, which you really should, because Jed MacKay's done something that most people can't do, keep a Moon Knight book interesting for more than 6 or 12 issues. We're like, I don't know where we're at right now, but we're like years into this run, and it's solid. And Marvel's allowing it to exist with the same creative team for the most part, but they do keep relaunching it. But this was a great issue. If you've loved Moon Knight before, you're going to love this issue. If you haven't been reading it, but you've been hearing about it, but you just don't want to get caught up, you can jump in right here. It's a fresh start, lets you know everything that you need to know, and it kicks you right into a new story. Then we've got Mystique, issue number 1, From the Ashes, A New Beginning. So we were having these mini-series that are spotlighting all these individual mutants, right? This is Mystique, and it's written and illustrated by Declan Shalvey. So we had Declan on the show not too long ago to talk about his work on Thundercats, Old Dog, stuff like that, and he brought up Mystique, that he was doing this book and he wanted it to be a spy book. And what better vehicle for that than a Mystique book? And he also said he wanted to bring Mystique back into a very real, menacing threat. That gets done here. It is a spy book. It's a little bit slow at times, but it does pick up the pace when it needs to be. And it's also just a great excuse for Declan Shalvey to draw a whole bunch of characters that he wants to draw all in one story, because Mystique can become anybody. I like the art. I like the story. The ending could be a big deal, but it could also just be a mislead, so we'll see what happens. If you're a fan of Mystique, especially the villainous roots of that character, definitely check that one out. Then we got Crypt of Shadows, issue number 1. This is another one-shot. Marvel's been doing this. This is the 3rd year, I think, that they've done it. It's Halloween season, so they got a horror anthology book, and it's got like an Agatha Harkness, like, wraparound story. I hate that Agatha is, like, young now and looks like the MCU character, I guess. I don't like that. There's a Scarlet Witch story in here with Vision on Halloween night. It's alright. I guess it's kind of cute. It's okay. There's a Man-Thing Namor story. Is alright. The art's pretty cool. I guess it was kind of charming. Then there's a story with Kraven hunting down, I guess that's Werewolf by Night. I'm not 100% sure if that's Werewolf by Night or Man-Wolf. I think that's Werewolf by Night. I think that's Jack. And it was alright. This book was just alright. Like, I almost didn't want to read it. Maybe I shouldn't have. Is alright. Then we got Ultimate Spider-Man here with issue number 10. Great cover on that Ultimate Spider-Man. Oh, I haven't even thought about cover of the week or smell of the week. We might have to do that live. Ultimate Spider-Man number 10, a really solid issue, a very talky issue, but Ben and Jonah have pieced together the story that they're trying to piece together about what's going on in the Ultimate Universe with Kingpin and the Goblin and all this kind of stuff. And even though it's just like a bunch of 9-panel grids for the most part with just people talking. The dialogue is so sharp. I love the way that Jonathan Hickman writes these characters. The way it was developed was and structured has a lot of tension behind it. So it really does work. It's a really solid issue continuing the story of Ultimate Spider-Man. And this book has been great. And I think the Ultimate Universe has been pretty solid. And Ultimate Spider-Man has maintained that flagship status all the way through. Not just because of the recognizability of the character of Spider-Man, just also because of how good this book is. Marco Caccetto is not here, but the art's really good. And it's Messina? David Messina. The art's still pretty cool. I liked it. Then we got Uncanny X-Men issue number 4. This might be, to me, the weakest issue of this series, but to me, it's also still the strongest X book going right now. I've already dropped off of Jed MacKay's X-Men, but Uncanny X-Men has kept me engaged. It's kept me thrilled's the wrong word, but it's definitely kept me interested in the story. This is a big spotlight in on Rogue. The ultimate villain has been revealed. It's a big confrontation between her and them, and then the kids are in danger, and they have the rest of the X-Men to like protect them. So it's very old school feeling, and David Marquez's artwork is really, really freaking solid. And I think this is one of the better books I've read from Gail Simone in a very, very long time. So Uncanny X-Men, I like it. Then we got Wolverine issue number 2. Issue number 1 was really cool. Gave me a lot of like 90s vibes. We had Cyber show up. We had a big brutal fight. This one, it's the Wendigo, as was teased at the end of the first issue. And it's a new iteration of the Wendigo. And it's cool and it's all right. It's just a little bit of a step down in intensity and brutality. And they could have really ramped that up, but it seemed like they shied away from it. So it was good. It was solid. But it was a bit of a step down from issue number 1. So was Avengers Symbol issue number 2. Honestly, I read Avengers Symbol number 1, not expecting to like it, and I was surprised that I thought it was decent, and then Night Thrasher shows up at the end and joins the Avengers. Cool. Then he gives everybody these jackets, and the jackets look absolutely freaking stupid. They just look stupid. And it does. I don't understand it. Like, and Night Thrasher, Dwayne is being written as like a little bit of a prick. And I know that Dwayne is a prick, but he's really written in a very one-dimensional, like chip on my shoulder kind of way. And I think especially after the events of the recent Night Thrasher series, that Dwayne's kind of like made peace with himself and has a new redefined purpose. And I guess it's just given the Avengers bad jacket. So I think I'm dipping out of that one. Then we got SpiderMan Rain 2. Issue number 4. I believe there's only one more issue. I could be wrong on that. Kari Andrews coming back to the world of Spider-Man Rain. Spider-Man's been sent back in time to prevent some kind of post-apocalyptic catastrophe from happening. And going back in time, he winds up killing himself so that Mary Jane lives. And now the world is completely wrecked. And Mary Jane's Venom? I don't know. There's a lot of like tributes to like McFarlane era Spider-Man in here, artistically and even visually, and into the early 2000s with the widescreen panels and stuff. So I really like this story. It was a little bit confusing for me over the last couple of issues, but this one really irons everything out. Plus you get the revelation of Kitty Cat, her origin. She's like a new Black Cat. Her origin is not what we thought, and it was really shocking and surprising. Pretty well put together. So Spider-Man Rain continues to reign. Let's jump over to Image. And from Image, we have Destro issue number 5. This is the final issue of the Dan Waters and Andre Bresson Destro series, and it's freaking awesome. It is such a great ending. And I think that Destro might be my favorite of these 4 G.I. Joe miniseries that have kind of been leading up into the ongoing G.I. Joe, which I have read G.I. Joe issue number 1. And it's awesome. So get ready, because that comes out in just a few weeks. But Destro sets up this dynamic for Cobra so perfectly well. It makes Destro so badass, truly menacing. Cobra Commander made Cobra Commander go from a coward in my eyes to a true terrible threat. Destro is like even more so. Like Destro never came across as cowardly, but he came across not quite as threatening in the cartoon as he could be, as he should be. And here, he is a threat. He's badass. He's a master manipulator. He's got everything working for him. He's also brutal with his fists when he needs to be. And man, I loved this freaking book so much. So much. I would be okay with Dan Waters doing another Destro series. I would be okay with that. Even with G.I. Joe being as badass as it is, as the issue 1 is, really cool. I haven't really read the Larry Hama stuff, so y'all let me know, like when I crack open that compendium that I showed off last week. Is Destro as badass as this? This is a badass Destro, let me tell you that. Then we got Department of Truth here with issue number 26, kicking off a new story. It's kind of sad because it's not Martin Simmons on the artwork, but it is Allison Sampson, and the artwork is really good. The composition, the page layout, the panel design, the coloring, and it's all about Marilyn Monroe and how she ties into this great grand conspiracy of the Department of Truth. So even with Martin Simmons off of the artwork, the innovative and experimental qualities of Sampson's art is still solidly there. And this isn't just one of those wild fiction things that doesn't feel like it really connects. This really connects, and it's going to continue into the next issue, so definitely worth checking out. Do not skip this, and it is integral. And now that we've kind of gotten past issue 25, I really feel like we're building up even more into the big second act, if you will, of Department of Truth. Pretty dope. Then we got Violator issue number 2 here. Violator, this is like an origin series for Violator. In the first issue, and each issue is double-sized and a different artist. Piotr Kowalski was the artist on the first issue, and it was showing how Violator went from Angel to Violator, right? Here we get Violator in a confrontation against the Spawn in like, what is it, like 700 AD or something like that? And it's all right, it's decent. But that Kyle Hotz artwork is magnificent. I've been a fan of Kyle Hotz for a while. I remember he did this book called The Agency with Paul Jenkins. I remember him on the Hood book with Brian K. Vaughan. I'm a huge fan of his work. And man, the artwork in this book was awesome. The story was all right. I liked the story better in part 1. Part 2's all right. It's decent. It's cool. It's filling in some gaps, I guess. But it's the artwork that is the main drive there. Then we got Witchblade here with issue number 4. This book's been kind of fun, but kind of bothersome for 3 issues, where it would be like fun, and then kind of get clunky, and then fun, then get a little clunky. This issue is all clunk. All clunk, and a little bit of junk, and nothing left to carry in my trunk. We're going to edit that out, right? Oh, we don't edit here. Shit. Alright, so Witchblade number 4, it's aight, but it's kind of fallen flat for me, and it's clunky and junky and not in the trunky. So Witchblade number 4 might be my last issue. We'll see. Maybe if the next issue comes out on a really slow week. We'll see. Then we got Local Man, issue number 25. What? The last issue of Local Man was 13. Well, now we're in 25 with Visions, the Images of Tomorrow. It's a nice little throwback there. This is, yeah, it's like the story of where Local Man winds up, like how the story finishes, and it gives it a really good finale. And if you read Tony Fleece's message in the back, this is the end of Local Man, at least for now. Maybe they'll come back and do some things with it, but this is kind of the ending. So it's like a coda, it's like an epilogue, and it's really satisfying, to be honest with you. Local Man's been a really great book. 90s Image meets 90s Vertigo was kind of like the mission statement. It's a story about loss. Tony explains all this stuff. Really cool book. I'm going to be sad to see it go, but Tony's got a lot of projects in the works, and co-writing and drawing this was definitely a time sink for him. But Local Man is definitely something that I think Tony and Tim should get back to when they can. Then we've got The Exorcism at 1600 Penn, and you know what? Look at that cool foil cover. Let's just give that the cover of the week. The foil edition. It's the White House. It's The Exorcism at 1600 Penn. You know what's going on here. So there's a new president, and one of the members of the first family gets possessed by the devil. It takes a long time for that to happen, but the characterization of these characters and how they're kind of adjusting to their new lives and their new roles, it actually works. It works. And the artwork by Vanessa Del Rey was pretty solid. It was decent. It was cool. And as I'm reading this, I'm like, all right, this could be better. This is all right. It could be better. But as I'm reading it more and more, I'm becoming more involved with these characters, more interested in what's going on behind the scenes. And then I kind of completely forget that this is an Exorcist type story until we get to the ending. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. The devil going to possess somebody in the White House. The whole time I'm reading it, though, I kept thinking of Chucky Season 3. Chucky Season 3 was great. Chucky in the White House? It was great. From Boom Studios, we have Vicarious issue #1. That's another cool cover right there, Dan Panosian. We'll do the smell test live. How about that? Vicarious issue #1. This is from Ryan Parrott, Eleonora Carlini. This one's all right. So it's about this world in which you can pay somebody who has a certain implant, which is illegal, but you can pay somebody where you kind of go into their mind and you don't get to like control them or make decisions for them, but you tell them what to do and they'll do it. Like I don't know, say you always want to have sex with a certain type of person and you're not the kind of person who's going to be able to do that. You can pay somebody to allow you to possess them while they do that for you. Right? So it's about this dude who's down in his luck and needs to pay rent. He gets involved in this world. It's some cool, interesting ideas, and it's being played with in an interesting way, but it didn't quite nail it for me. But it was intriguing enough to come back for the second issue and see what happens there. Then we got Spillblood, issue #1. This is a one-shot comic, I believe, from Keen Spot, written by Jonathan Hedrick with artwork by Stefano Cardoselli. I really like this book. It's just a one-shot. It's a $6.99 comic, but you know what? That's the smell of the week. I can already tell. The whiff so strong off this. So the smell of the week goes to this. I love the artwork. Monochromatic is all just black, white, and red. The artwork is very scratchy, very rough, and the story is about this dude who's like a priest in a confessional, and somebody will come and confess their sins. Like, for instance, I've been paying for sex. And then he's like, where is this place? And the priest goes to this brothel where they're mistreating these women and just rains hell, spills blood, right? I really like the concept of the story. This is something that you could actually develop and further, and I think it should be. And I really like the story, but I really love the artwork too. The artwork is so freaking cool, a little abstract, a little surreal, but definitely up my alley. Not going to be to everybody's taste, but seriously, the story's cool. But if you open it up and you're like, oh, what is that? I don't like that art. Then that book is not going to be for you. But if you like experimental things artistically and just a really badass frickin' revenge priest story, it's pretty cool. I really like that. So Jonathan, you did a really great job there. Then we got Flash Gordon, issue #3. This one focuses in on Ming, the Merciless, kind of revealing his origins, where he's at right now. He's like trying to get off of this planet. Flash Gordon's there. I really like this book. Jeremy Adams has been doing a great job in Green Lantern, so it makes sense why Flash Gordon would be a book that works for him. And the art's really freaking solid too. Very clean, very precise, but it still has the weight of the mood and the atmosphere that it needs to. And it also has the action and that pulpy sense to it. And Jeremy Adams has been killing it. I'm intrigued. My only experience with Flash Gordon is that movie from back in the day, which is cool, and I like it. But this is some real shit. I like this. I like this book a lot. Then we got Prairie Gods, Heaven's Trail. This is Prairie Gods, issue #2. So these stories are all written and drawn by Shane Connery Volk, who was the artist of Nottingham. And each issue is a standalone story, but it all takes place in the same world. This is about a sheriff who's like going out to the outskirts of towns, the mountains, where he's warned not to go to like chase some kind of fugitive or something like that. There's a nice little twist at the end, a horror-infused book with some really great textured, gritty artwork, some amazing coloring, just a really solid book. I really like the first issue. I really like the second issue. Tonally, atmospherically, different, but still cohesively the same and unique. Yeah. Where Monsters Lie is back with a new series. It's Where Monsters Lie Culdesac. So after the crazy events of Where Monsters Lie, we find out that there's another group of serial killers and murders, some of them based on like famous movie serial killers and stuff like that. Like there's a Freddy Krueger in here. So now it's up to this new batch to kind of take over from the batch that was just slaughtered by this dude. This is a really great follow-up to Where Monsters Lie. If you missed out on that book, I highly encourage you to check it out. Kyle Starks did a great job with that, of having it be fun and funny, but at the same time, still kind of horrifying, but still definitely kind of campy at the same time. And they continue that here in Culdesac. I really liked this issue. The artwork by Peter Kowalski was great. You got dogs eating people. It's pretty dope. I like this. So if you like the first one, no reason why you're not going to like that one. Then we got The Oddly Pedestrian Life of Christopher Chaos, the Halloween special. It's a one-shot Halloween special. I would say it's not 100% essential if you're reading the main story to read this, but you should, because there's a big thing at the end where they introduce a new monster into the fold and a shocking revelation about who that monster is. So I kind of liked it, but it's a bunch of short stories. Tate Bromball, Sue Lee, Nick Robles, James Tynan, and Fernando Blanco all working on this. There's a Dracula Boy story. There's the story with the witch lady. There's a story with Christopher. There's a story with the dude who's like the crusader who's coming after him. So each kind of character gets their spotlight, but then that last story really introduces a really exciting and new concept to the world of Christopher Chaos. That book has been really good. Then we got Hate Revisited, issue number 4. Man, Peter Bagge doing what Peter Bagge does best, just having fun on the page with some ink, and maybe this time a little bit of color. I freaking love this book. So you got black and white hatch stories that take place back in the day that fill in some gaps, but also are thematically resonant or relevant to the main story. In this one, it's about Buddy and his brother and his former friend. Oh, what's his former friend's name? It's Jay, right? He was the drug dealer and all that kind of stuff. You find out what's been going on with him, his connection to Buddy's sister. Really fun, cool stuff. I believe this is the final issue of Hate Revisited. That's sad. I want this to keep going on. Keep going and going and going. We need more hate in our lives, don't we? All right, then we've got Godfather of Hell, issue number 1. This is a new one from Vault Comics, written by Kevin Scott, with artwork by Pius Bach. The artwork's pretty decent, and the coloring's really good, too. Who did the coloring? Coloring is Raul Angulo. The coloring is really great. Some nice choices there. Artwork is clean and very cool, but I don't know if the artwork just doesn't quite seem to fit the story. I mean, it does a little bit. The story's okay. It's about this dude who, he's a gangster. He winds up killing a made man. He gets offed, winds up in hell. They send him back. They want him to be Hell's enforcer. That's the whole issue. I really just spoiled that whole damn thing for you. But I think that's what it frickin' says, to be honest with you. Anyway, that's what it is. It's alright. It's decent. It's not bad. It's not super great, but it's decent. I don't know. Vault's been actually doing some solid books. Between this, Goober, and Lilith, is Vault on a path back? Are they swinging their momentum back around? Then we got Powerpuff Girls issue number 4. Kelly Thompson is off the book, but we got Paulina Ganuccio. And it's just, you don't even miss a beat. It's the Powerpuff Girls. What are you expecting? Except for just awesome, cute, charming stories. And that's what we're getting here. It's what we're treated to here. Princess shows up in the middle of a cake-off, a bake-off, a cake contest, cake-making contest. Princess shows up, hilarity ensues, and the ending was my favorite bit. I thought that was dope. All right, I want to show a couple collections that are out this week. They're all art-based, really. So this is the Joe Jusko Marvel Masterpieces book. It's the art of the 1992 Marvel Masterpieces. So what this is a beautiful hardcover with the story and the history of the classic Marvel Masterpieces card set, right? And they talk about the comic book form of it. They show you all the backs of all the cards, and then the rest of the book, after you get all the information about it, the rest of the book is a page of the original sketch and layout, and then the finished work right there. So that's pretty freaking cool. If you're a fan of the Marvel Masterpieces like I am, this is kind of an essential part of your collection. It is like $60. It is like $60. I didn't realize that was $60. I'm glad I get a discount. All right. Then also we got Hell, Ink, and Water, the art of Mike Mignola. So Mike Mignola had a gallery, the Philippe Lambon Gallery. And so this is his first gallery exposition of his watercolor stuff that he's been working on. So this is just showing you those. Now, some of the kids that work for me were all like, oh, it's just nothing but him drawing skulls. If all it was Mike Mignola drawing skull dicks, I would still freaking want this book. Mike Mignola is, to me, one of the greatest artists living in comics, one of the greatest of all time, and it's more than just him drawing skeletons, okay? So you got some really amazing work here, including some reproductions of the original artwork of some of his cover work. Really solid stuff. Essential for Mike Mignola fans. That's $40. Jesus, art books are expensive, but those are two definitely worth checking out. All right, so let's recap. Powerpuff Girls do what Powerpuff Girls, which is be cute, charming, I was trying to think of another C word. I couldn't. Godfather of Hell is all right. I'm sorry I spoiled that for you. Hate Revisited. Let's revisit it again. We need more hate. The Oddly Pedestrian Life Christopher Chaos Halloween special. Not super essential, but they do introduce a character that is super essential for you to know what's up. Where Monsters Lie Cul-de-sac continues the hilarious momentum of the previous series. Prairie Gods, issue number 2. Really great, even though the tone of this story was completely different than the first one. Flash Gordon, when recording Spark of Light in the dark, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, all I do is climb the charts. Flash Gordon's good. Spillblood is dope, gets the smell of the week. Faith. It smells like faith and blood. Then Vicarious was alright. We shall see what happens with that one. Exorcism at 1600 Penn. Cover of the week right there. It's foil. It's patriotic, and it's got the devil in it. Local Man number 25. It ends for now. Hopefully we return to it, but a really solid conclusion to that run. Witchblade is wearing thin on me. Violator is aight, but the artwork is freaking amazing. Department of Truth doesn't have Martin Simmons on it, but it doesn't slow down the momentum or the innovation or experimentation at all. Destro do what Destro do. Be brutally bad and honest and freaking badass. It's freaking awesome. SpiderMan Rain 2 was awesome. Avengers Symbol was kind of dumb. Wolverine number 2 was a step down from issue number 1. Uncanny XMen, probably the weakest issue so far, but still pretty solid. Ultimate Spider-Man, just a bunch of talking, but a really tension-filled issue. I loved it. Crypt of Shadows, skip it. Just go get something else. Like Mystique. Mystique was really cool. Declan Shalvey, drawing a bunch of different characters. Spy story, making Mystique a threat again. That's dope. Moon Knight, Fist of Khonshu. Perfect for if you've been following Moon Knight or if you've been hearing about how great Jed McKay and Cappuccino are on Moon Knight. Just jump in. It's a great jumping on point. 100%. Dark Knights of Steel All Winter. Frickin' rocks. Jenny Sparks. I'm on the fence on that one. We'll see. Batman Superman World's Finest is losing some of its steam with the absence of Dan Mora. Titans, the John Layman run starting off pretty strong. Action Comics, some interesting ideas. Doesn't need to be weekly. We've learned that lesson so many times before. Green Lantern was awesome. Everything that's been built up is erupting right now. Nightwing, the end of the Tom Taylor, Bruno Redondo run. Very satisfying conclusion. I thought it was cool, even though there's a bit in there that's a bit too convenient. Batman Full Moon, Rodney Barnes' horror-infused Batman Black Label book about Batman fighting a werewolf. It's pretty cool, and he doesn't believe in werewolves. Batman and Robin, Year 1, number 1. Chris Samney's artwork is worth it alone. Seriously, but the story's pretty good too. I just wanted to see who the colorist was. The colorist is Chris Samney. Wow. This is really solid work. But the pick of the week goes to Wonder Woman number 14. The Mystery of Trinity revealed, but that's not even why this book hits the way it does. This book was absolutely, astoundingly powerful. This book was really good. It's one of the best Wonder Woman issues I've ever read. All right, that's what I read. That's what I thought. That's what I'm digging. What are you reading? What are you thinking? What are you digging? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. If you want to support the channel, you can do so over at patreon.com/PCP. I've been Rockin Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on living and reading. Station. Pop, pop. Boom!